In the darkest chapters of the galaxy's history, when the boundaries between light and dark are blurred, a shadow emerged, a figure both feared and prophesized. Known only as the Dark Man, he haunted the dreams of not only Grandmaster Luke Skywalker, but Jacen Solo alike, a silent specter of inevitable conflict. This Dark Man, secretly the Sith Lord Darth Krayt, was proof to Luke Skywalker that the Sith still lingered. Their presence was a looming threat even in the fragile peace of a new republic. Darth Krayt had walked in the shadows for years, his journey one of pain and transformation. From the Padawan Asherad Het who carried the burden of his father's death, to a wandering bounty hunter, and finally, a Dark Lord. On Korriban, he discovered the ancient holocron of Zozan, the Sith Lady, unlocking the secrets of the ancient Sith and forging himself anew. Yet, his rise was marked not by a thirst for immediate revenge, but by a long, patient evolution, as he sought purpose beyond the revenge that he could no longer claim after the death of Palpatine and Vader. "I left for the unknown regions, determined to lose myself," Krayt once said. "But I learned the unknown does not mean empty." It was when Abeloth, the ancient chaotic force of nature that sought to dominate all life, rose to threaten the galaxy. The Jedi and Sith faced a rare moment of reckoning. For the first time, their eternal war had to be set aside. Darth Krayt, a master of the dark side and one of the few beings capable of standing against Abeloth, emerged from the shadows with a chilling proclamation. There is only one way to stop Abeloth: Jedi and Sith together. Luke Skywalker felt the pull of Darth Krayt's power as the Sith Lord strode into battle. Luke sensed him immediately, a towering figure shrouded by shadow, shrouded by power, ambition, death. His glowing eyes shifted unpredictably, making the Grand Master extremely uneasy, reflecting the chaos within the man. His arrival marked a rare union of light and dark, an alliance forged not through trust, but from the desperate need to confront a threat that transcended the Force itself. In the climactic duel, Darth Krayt demonstrated his terrifying mastery of the Force, piercing Abeloth with his unrelenting precision, his tattooed hands striking with deadly purpose. As he drained her essence, his screams of agony echoed through the Lake of Apparitions, mingling with Abeloth's shrieks of defeat and terror. Even in a moment of triumph, however brief, Krayt's nature betrayed him. The moment that Abeloth seemingly fell, he turned on Luke Skywalker, his dark hunger for power driving him to drain the Jedi Grand Master's strength. To Luke, this was the Sith made manifest. Krayt, this Dark Man, was a being capable of immense sacrifice, an unparalleled betrayal. Yet, in that moment, Krayt embodied a truth that would haunt Luke for years to come. The Sith, though defeated for now, could never truly be vanquished. They were a constant reminder of the galaxy's fragility, their presence proof that darkness could always rise. For a brief amount of time, Jedi and Sith stood side by side against a threat that neither could comprehend nor defeat alone. But this unity was a fleeting one, a fragile alliance born of necessity, not trust. Abeloth was defeated, but Krayt left his own mark upon the galaxy, a reminder that even in victory, the Sith bring their own evil. The Dark Man's shadow stretched far into the future, a lingering presence in Luke's mind. He was a harbinger of what was to come, a symbol of an eternal cycle of light and dark. And though Abeloth had been cast into the void, Krayt's shadow remained a specter of power in the galaxy, vengeance, and the inevitable resurgence of the Sith. In a galaxy defined by the eternal struggle of light and dark, Luke Skywalker has always viewed the Sith as destroyers, harbingers of chaos that would sooner burn the galaxy to ash than share it with the Jedi. But Krayt was different. For all his darkness, for all the hatred and ambition that burned within him, Krayt represented something that Luke had never seen in a Sith. A willingness to act for the sake of self-preservation for a wider cause. Luke grew to appreciate the Dark Lord in a strange, reluctant way. He could not ignore Krayt's refusal to let the galaxy fall to Abeloth, a being so terrible that even the Sith could not sit idle. Krayt's pragmatism was undeniable. Without life, Darth Krayt would have nothing to rule. Darth Krayt had decided to protect what would be his, even if it meant joining forces with the Jedi. In this way, he's quite similar to Palpatine. He does not wish to rule over a galaxy of the dead. For this, Luke Skywalker was grateful, though not without wariness. The Sith that he had known before Palpatine, Vader, and others had sought only to dominate through destruction, tearing down the galaxy to rebuild it in their image. But Krayt had arrived without a call, unbidden, unasked for, a harbinger of chaos who for a fleeting moment represented hope. In that rare moment, Luke Skywalker found himself respecting the Dark Lord's resolve, his willingness to stand against a threat that would obliterate them all. It was a grim reminder that even in the darkest of souls, they had their place in the galaxy's balance. And in that moment, Krayt's shadow was not one of terror, but necessity. A Sith who had chosen to fight for survival, not for altruism, but out of the cold logic that life must endure for power to have any meaning. And though their paths would inevitably diverge, Luke would not deny the strange sense of gratitude that he felt. For once, the Sith had not been destroyers, they were allies, and for a brief fragile moment, the light and the dark stood together against something that sought to unmake them both. But not all Jedi shared Luke's opinion, or his stance. To Jacen Solo, the Dark Man was not a savior or an ally, he was a dark omen that haunted his dreams. From the very first moment that he glimpsed the shadowy figure in his visions, Jacen saw Krayt as something more dangerous than any Sith who had come before. Krayt was not just a Sith. He was a reckoning, a being who embodied both destruction and full mastery, who wielded not only the power of the dark side, but the knowledge of the Jedi as well. And while the Grand Master could reluctantly appreciate Krayt's willingness to act against Abeloth, Jacen could see the greater threat that the Dark Man represented. Luke, perhaps blinded by necessity, saw Krayt as a temporary ally in a fight against an unthinkable foe. But Jacen Solo knew what Krayt truly was. Darth Krayt was evil, and he was powerful. A Sith forged not only by hatred, but by study and understanding. He had delved into the deepest, most forbidden knowledge of the Force, drawing from the teachings of the original 12 exiled, the founders of the Sith Order itself. To Jacen Solo, Darth Krayt was an imminent warning, a vision of what the galaxy could become if such a being were to rise unchecked. And it was that inescapable certainty of ruin that drove Jacen Solo down his own dark path. He believed the Jedi as they were too weak to stop the Sith that was coming. He believed that he had to become something stronger, something darker to ensure the galaxy's survival. The image of the Dark Man looming in his mind was the catalyst that led Jacen to take the name Darth Krayt. For all his power, Krayt was more than just a Sith Lord. He was an architect of despair, a being who could weave together Jedi and Sith lore into something new, something unstoppable. Where the Sith of old burned the galaxy for power, Krayt sought to dominate it entirely, not through chaos, but through calculated, enduring rule. He was the living embodiment of the Sith's ancient promise of inevitability. That was that the dark side would always rise, more cunning, more powerful, more prepared. And as Jacen Solo fell to the dark side, the shadow of Krayt loomed over him, an ever-present reminder of what he feared and what he sought to become. For although Luke Skywalker had appreciated the Dark Man's actions against Abeloth in a fleeting moment, Jacen Solo saw the truth. Darth Krayt was no savior. He was the storm on the horizon, a reckoning that neither the Sith nor the Jedi could ignore. To Jacen, the galaxy stood at a precarious crossroads, and the visions of the future that plagued him left little room for doubt. Among the many threats that he saw, one stood above the others: this Dark Man. This dark figure was not merely a Sith, he was the Reckoning, a force of darkness unlike anything Jacen had ever seen. And in his dreams, Jacen watched as the Jedi Order shattered and countless lives extinguished. Jacen believed that the Jedi were bound to tradition and restrained by their own moral codes. They were incapable of stopping, killing Krayt. To him, the Jedi lacked the ruthless necessity to confront the kind of evil that Darth Krayt represented. He believed he was the embodiment of everything that could destroy, a master of the Jedi and Sith, armed with the wisdom of the ancient Sith Lords and unshackled by limitations of any order. Jacen Solo looked at Darth Krayt as an unchecked evil, and himself as a mastered evil. Jacen rationalized his descent into darkness as a necessary sacrifice. The Force had shown him that Krayt would not be stopped by conventional means, nor could the Jedi survive the coming storm without radical change. To Jacen, the galaxy needed a leader who could wield the dark side with precision and control, someone to embrace power without succumbing to it. Jacen believed that he could be that figure, a Sith who would wield the darkness to destroy darkness, just like his grandfather thought. To Jacen, his turn to the dark side as Krayt was not a betrayal of the Jedi, but an evolution beyond them. He saw himself as the only one willing to do what needed to be done to make the hard choices that others could not. He viewed the dark side as a tool, a weapon to shape the galaxy's destiny and avert the horrors of his vision. In Krayt's mind, if Krayt represented inevitability of the Sith's resurgence, then Jacen's transformation into Kytus was the only way to stop this. To counter, to defeat Krayt, Jacen believed that he needed to become more than a Jedi, more than a Sith, something new, capable of standing against the storm. Krayt knew the Jedi, Jacen knew this, but Jacen did not know the Sith. Jacen's choice came at a great cost. The darkness that he embraced to stop Krayt consumed him, alienating him from his family, his comrades, and the very ideals that he sought to uphold. His belief in his own righteousness blinded him to the reality that his actions were paving way for the very future that he was trying to prevent. It would be Jacen that would weaken the galaxy for Krayt to later claim. In his desperation to save the galaxy itself from Krayt, Kytus became the harbinger of chaos, his fall a tragic reflection, dangers of seeking out destiny as a justification for any means. And yet, even as Kytus, Jacen never let go of his conviction that he had done what was necessary. He was to be the sacrifice, his very soul, because Jacen knew if the galaxy fell to Krayt, there would be no galaxy left to save after. Krayt was dangerous because he combined the cunning of the Sith with the knowledge of the Jedi. He had mastered elements of their lore and an unparalleled force for domination. He wielded lost teachings, those of the original Dark Jedi exiles, making him a threat not only to his enemies, but to the balance of the Force itself. His vision of the galaxy was neither chaos nor destruction, but totalitarian control, relentless, calculated, a rule that would endure for generations. Luke Skywalker saw Krayt as a chilling reminder that the Sith were not merely destructive, but also calculated, enduring conquests. While he appreciated Krayt's willingness to act against Abeloth, Luke feared that the Dark Lord's true ambitions and devastation would rise to an inevitable dark future. And that, my friends, was the Sith Lord that Luke Skywalker respected, and how Jacen Solo partially turned to the dark side because of Krayt. But join our archives by subscribing. Unlock stories of heroes, villains, and those that blur the line between light and dark. Explore the tragic fall of Jacen Solo, a Jedi turned Sith in his desperate bid to save the galaxy from the looming shadow of Krayt. Uncover Luke Skywalker's relentless battle to preserve hope, even as he faces impossible choices against Krayt and unstoppable forces like Abeloth. The Force binds all of these stories together, and so can you. Subscribe to journey deeper into the myths, conflicts, and destinies that shape the galaxy far, far away. Your destiny is clear. Will you take this step? And as always, walk boldly in the light and let the Force guide your every step. May the Force be with you.